So now let's look at how JavaScript events work. We're back in the HTML file, and when we're talking about using JavaScript events, we're really talking about capturing events on elements of our page and then reacting to them in JavaScript. Let's come back up here to this main element. This is that sort of wrapper of all our main content. It has an ID of main. So let's open up our JavaScript file. And let's create that using that same document get element by ID. So this will return a reference to that main element and all of its children. Main itself, because it's a part of that document, has a property on it called onMouseEnter and onMouseLeave. We'll start with enter. This is an event handler, and the way this works is we're going to assign it a function, a piece of reusable code, a function in the sense of JavaScript, that's going to be called when our mouse enters this part of the page. And then we can write code in here that'll be called once we enter the main part of that page. We'll do the same thing here for onMouseLeave, so that we can make a change to some part of the document when the mouse enters a part of the UI and then leaves that main part of the UI. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the style. Styles are properties directly on the element. So I'm going to say background color 888. So I'm going to make the background color sort of a mid-level gray. And then when we leave the main element, I'm going to reset that by setting the style to be clear or not be used again. Now there are more efficient ways of doing this, but this will at least give us a sense of what's happening. This will allow us to have callback functions that are executed when certain events happen, when interactions happen as well. In the case of mouse enter and leave, those are interactions with the user, but there are also some other events that are more about system level changes. Let's see this working. Let me refresh, and as we enter and leave that main section, we can see it actually get dark gray and then clear, dark gray and then clear. And what's interesting about this is that when we leave it, we're setting that style to be empty, and it's going back to this light gray. Because one of the rules around CSS that we talked about in the last module that may not be clear at this point is that a style directly on an element overrides the rule that is in a CSS rule. So that as we come in, the dark gray is taking over for what the background was set in the CSS, and then when we clear that style, it falls back to the most recent thing that was set, which was set in the CSS rule that we wrote in the last module. And so in a nutshell, just a taste, this is how events work. We set up callbacks that contain code that is executed when certain things happen on a page, and in our case, something with the user is interacting. Let's talk a bit about global scope in the next video.